and we'll have the mayor so that people of this city would know what we discuss, and both sides would have been here so that you could tap into the discussion that we have had with the city council. As you know, we have here Minister Anand Prasad, Minister Nigel Dharamlal, Minister Devdat Indar, myself. We have technical people from NDIA, the Director General from the Ministry of Agriculture. So the main reason for this meeting with the City Council was, for the last two occasions that we had heavy rainfall in the city, we have seen that flash floods, and some areas we had extensive flooding took place. And over the last month, what we have been doing, both from the Ministry of Agriculture and other government officials, even His Excellency the President, we have been making visits to various locations across the town to ensure that the equipment that were provided to the City Council are used to drain the city. The sluices are open so that we would not experience, or people within the city would not experience flooding. But to our dismay, we have seen that the supervision of these equipments, or the supervision of these operators that operate the sluices and the pumps, left a lot to be desired, because the City Council is abdicating their responsibility. They are not supervising these people, and it seems that these equipment are being left to the operator to make decisions whenever they want to work it or not. So at this morning's cabinet meeting, we were instructed by cabinet that we should meet with the City Council and inform them of our position, and also get them to ensure that they improve their supervision of these equipment and structures in the city. But to our dismay, just now the mayor is saying that, look, the technical people in his council is responsible for these supervision, and if they can't supervise, well, he doesn't have much to do, right? So that is very strange, because the responsibility stops at the mayor's desk, and he has to ensure that the town is manned properly, that all supervisions in the town are effective, and all systems are in place, because this is our capital city, and we as a government, we have been making the resources available to the City Council in terms of getting the DNI system in action, because late last year, we would have increased the capacity of the Georgetown by 3 additional pumps in November, so that we increased the capacity from 9 to 12 pumps. And then we have all these sluices, approximately 10 sluices. And we have been ensuring that also we service these sluices. So the City Council have not been putting any resources, so to speak, because all these things are coming out from the budget of the NDIA. And we have our technical people normally visit these pumps. The only thing the City Council will have to do is to ensure that they supervise the operators and also report to us whenever these equipments are not functioning effectively. Yesterday when the rain fell, we never received any report from the City Council that any pumps are not working. To our dismay, when we sent out our technical officers, we discovered 3 pumps were not working. We discovered 3 pumps were not working. Immediately we activate our process that we have in NDIA, and by yesterday afternoon, 2 of the 3 pumps were fixed. And one is currently still, the technical person are looking at the one at Riverview with a view to fix that by this afternoon. And then yesterday, you know that we suffered severe and extensive flooding in the city. Last night, when our technical person were visiting to monitor the pumps, we found out also that at Young Street, 10:43 p.m., the pump was turned off, and the sluice was closed. So there was no drilling being done at that location. There was no operator, and the pump was turned off. At Cowan Street, that pump we repaired yesterday. At 9:55 p.m. last night, the pump was turned off, no operator was there, and no drainage was taking place, and the sluice was closed. At Rumville South drainage, we have another pump there at 8:30 p.m. The pump was torn off. The pump was torn off. No drainage was taking place there. And you had yesterday heavy, extensive flooding in the city. All those concerns were raised just now with the mayor, but I don't think we had we had a proper answer coming out from the city council. That means the Ministry of Local Government, Agriculture and Public Works will have to devise a way how we'll monitor the system and get it to work. Although those operators are both from the sluices and the pumps are employees of City Hall. The mayor said that he don't have to supervise those employees, that he has his administration. So I asked him the question, the rhetorical question, who supervises the administration? Because if the administration is not delivering, then he has to ensure that the administration delivers. And then we didn't have proper answer too. So the government is very concerned of the city, and not only the city, other parts that are flooded, but especially Georgetown. The amount of rain that fell should have not flooded Georgetown to that amount yesterday. If we had all the system that we have given them, all the resources, pumps, sluices were operable or were in action, then we could have the flood minimized yesterday. So that's the situation right now, and we express our concern. We also told them that in these channels that lead to the river, there are obstacles there. Boats are blocking thousands of gallons of water to drain through those sluices, those channels, and also on the trash racks that were installed by us to prevent trash to go into the pumps. They are not cleaning those trash racks also, and that is blocking thousands of gallons of water from draining through to the pumps or the sluices. So they are saying they don't have any jurisdiction to tell people to remove their boat from the channel, which falls under the supervision of the city council. Because the boundaries, as I said, I asked the technical person just now, they said the boundaries start from Crown Dam by the arch to Agricola and extend to the watermark. And the channel falls within the watermark. So it's under the control of the city council, but probably they don't know their responsibility. So I will pause here, ask my colleague, local government, and then public works, and the minister within the Ministry of Local Government to make their comments, and then we'll take questions.
All right, thank you, Minister of Agriculture, and good afternoon, everyone. Yes, thank you and good afternoon, everyone. We were hopeful for a cordial meeting with the City Council this afternoon, led by the Mayor, the Deputy Mayor, and the City Engineer. But as the Minister of Agriculture said, that apparently the city has basically thrown their hands up and have basically left the drainage or the administration of the city for others to do. At the level of our government, since we took office on August 2nd, we have invested in D&I capacity in this city close to $1 billion already within this 10-month period. And that is a significant investment. The government has been doing the heavy lifting in Georgetown. We expected that the City Council would have engaged in the sustainable management of these facilities that we've put in place. A few years ago, the last government did some cleaning, and it is obvious that the City Hall has refused to do any maintenance. The alleyways that we have in Georgetown, we have tens of miles of alleyways, and many of them are still clogged up. Only last December, through the Ministry of Local Government and Public Works, we did a lot of cleaning in both South and North Georgetown. We are currently, through some collaboration with the Ministry of Agriculture, doing work in South Georgetown as well as in Sophia, cleaning drains, canals, and even alleyways. So it is flabbergasting that the City Hall will just, the mayor comes here and throws his hands up and doesn't want to take responsibility. But he wants to take the glory for all that is happening. But he's not taking responsibility for his maladministration of the city of Georgetown. And our commitment to the citizens of Georgetown, we will continue to work with the citizens to make sure that we alleviate all of these problems. And we would like to use this opportunity as well to call on our citizens to work with us during this phase. It's obvious, like I said, that the City Council is refusing to take ownership of the city, and you know, billions of dollars in taxes are being spent every year. The City Hall produced a budget this year of $2.2+ billion, and the majority of it, they basically can prove what work or the impact of the work that they're doing. They have on their payroll in excess of 750 staff, and still yet we are in this dire situation. We also found out too that, as the Minister of Agriculture said, that the staff of City Hall who are responsible for the supervision of these facilities, that they're very recalcitrant, they're not turning up to work. The President himself saw one of them sleeping. We just found out too that only last evening pumps were turned off. If it had rained last night, Georgetown would have been flooded again this morning. And this has, you know, City Hall has to take ownership of these issues. Till this day, City Hall has not publicly worked with us to say where the clogged areas are, how we are going to resolve it. They have not put any resource to any of the facilities that we have to drain Georgetown. And I think that moving forward, we would like to see disciplinary action taken against those staff who are responsible. I'm happy that the Local Government Commission has since written to the town clerk. I myself spoke to the town clerk yesterday. And you know, we are doing a lot of investments in Georgetown. There's a tender out now for the completion of the administrative building at Georgetown that the government is part funding with resources from City Hall, the repairs in Georgetown. And next week, we will be tendering the restoration project of the City Hall building. So the government will also be leading that process, and next week you will also see the tenders out, the public tenders out for the restoration of City Hall. The fire service, the fire department produced a report that has basically condemned City Hall and that it should not have been used for any habitation. And that is one of the things we also spoke to the mayor about, and for them to start moving staff out. They have the town clerk indicated to me that they are in the process of trying to relocate staff, and hopefully by the end of next week we will start moving forward. Those are my comments to you, and I'll give
Members of the media, we invited the mayor, deputy mayor, and the city engineer to a meeting this afternoon, and we posed a couple of questions to him based on the rainfall and the flooding we had in the city. As I speak to you, he hasn't answered any of those questions. For me, he is all about politics, using social media, and he's not concerned about the citizenry of this Georgetown and its environs. He, the mayor, told us bluntly that he doesn't get any report from the city engineer or from any of the supervisors that visit those sluices or those who manage the pumps. Now that is appalling, because the buck stops at him. And we have urged him to please work along with NDIA, the Ministry of Local Government, and the Ministry of Public Works, so we can alleviate this problem in time to come. We also made mention to him that rain falls about 3 or 4 times per year in Georgetown, and for the longest while we haven't had any flooding. And that is because the drains and the canals are not being desilted. And we have urged him to start doing some work with regards to the desilting of canals, and we will assist in assisting him.
try to be brief as possible, because my colleagues, they all give a mouthful. But when Minister Nigel asked the mayor during a meeting about these competents that are not on the job, turning off the pumps early in the nights, he said that had to go to some HR committee of the council. I don't know if we have to wait on that to happen to intervene in the operation in the nights when people are flooded and the properties be damaged. If you go around the city, as I did yesterday, the Kawan Street area that Minister Zulfi just mentioned about, the water was this high going up, this high, and it was flowing out. The cocoa was open. And if you move from Kawan Street and you jump to Lamaha and you go to the other side by Scotiabank, where the area where the president lives and so on, that entire area was flooded. It means to say the water is not draining because the building codes has collapsed in the city. They don't do any work with making sure that they have drainage so that when you have a flooded water, the drawdown of the water from the street into the drainage is done quickly. And every question you ask, you get a defensive answer. And if you go now to Kawan Street again, where the pump was not working, the entire street is filled, the trench is filled with the vegetation. Nobody cleans it. And the vegetation is tall like this too. Now it's just growing or it's cleaned the other day or anything. It wasn't cleaned in a long while. The entire trench from corner to corner is full with vegetation. So when you have a flooding and the water, you're in a nip tide, the tide turns back about 3 hours quickly and the other close back the cocoa. So the drawdown of the water can't happen as fast as you want it to happen. Again, we will have to intervene as a government to do this because the city is failing. And the management of the city, rather than be serious about the problem, call a spade is flouting the responsibility and throwing it back into the various ministries on jurisdiction issues and a whole lot of nonsense. So we had a meeting. It wasn't a fruitful one, but at least we let the city know where we stand, and we have to make sure that we do the job for the city, for the citizens of Georgetown. We have been doing it in Region 9, where there's an engineering solution, we put one. Region 6, where we have flooding, down there, where's an engineering solution, we put one. Region 5, Region 3, Region 2, where there's an engineering solution to deal with flooding and irrigation and managing of sloughs and putting pumps, we intervene. In the city of Georgetown, you're not getting that from the mayor. And they are the ones who are in charge of managing, they collect your money. So we as government, we will sit down and we will see where we can do some works, just to make sure that we try to alleviate the situation. Because it's not easy to see businesses and people property underwater and the damages that they got to incur. It's not easy to see it. I don't know if those at City Hall are comfortable with that, but we are not. Plain, we are not. Thank you.
Any questions?
Questions, ministers. Prior to 2015, Georgetown was known to have a lot of flooding. Bear in mind, prior to 2015 would have been a PPP-led administration. Georgetown would have known to have a lot of flooding, and garbage would have overflowed in the city. 2015 came, the administration changed. It seems that without little effort or support from outside, City Hall started operating in a manner that it's supposed to serve the citizens of Georgetown. Now we are in 2020. PPP administration has resumed power, and it seems that politics is playing out. I'm asking, a PPP-led administration who has experience with past sabotage methods, how are you going to be looking at this issue to ensure that you reach and support the citizens of Georgetown, since we have been seem to be left to the mercy of Tiberius?
Well, if I could attempt to say that you're right that from last year to now to November we have increased the capacity in the city. We have added an additional 3 pumps, so that would have seen we should have seen better results now. Prior to August of last year, we should have had better results, but we are getting worse results. And it seems, yes, people are playing politics, especially city council, and we'll have to put mechanism in place. All three of my colleagues would have said that we'll have to devise a method to see how we can ensure that we put system in place to avoid these pumps not being working. So we'll both from the Ministry of Agriculture, NDIA, and local government and public works. We'll sit down, discuss, but as it stands now, we have implemented a system that where we have people manning these, are checking these places on a 24-hour system, and we have real report, fast report, as soon as these pumps are not working, because as I am speaking now, we are getting report coming in from these areas that which pumps are working and which sluices are working. So we'll continue to do that until we come up with a proper solution how we'll address this matter, because we can't just go and take over the responsibility of the city and say we will take over the drainage system. We have to ensure that they do their work too, and because the drainage system falls under their responsibility, but we'll be discussing to see what other method we could use to ensure that the system works.
Right, if I could add for a second. So we do recognize that this is a problem, and it is true that the City Council has been very vibrant between 2015 May and August or March 2020, between that period, and they have basically abdicated their responsibility since then. We see that as some level of sabotaging the work of the government, but the government will take the lead and do the heavy lifting. We have a responsibility to the people of this country, and that is why the NDIA has invested in close to $1 billion already in city drainage in the last 10 months. We have to do the Ministry of Public Works, local government. We have also invested nearly $500 million already in the last 10 months to do infrastructural work within the city. The mayor seems only happy to report that he has been mayor from 2019, and he is not taking responsibility for anything that happened before. He has basically also said in the meeting that a lot of things happened prior to him being mayor, and those things did not help the development of Georgetown. For us, the garbage situation, the City Hall pays about $21 to $22 million per month to collect garbage. And in the wards of Georgetown, garbage is still strewn right across Georgetown. And I think that it will come a point in time as well when our citizens would have to take some action against City Hall. I've received terrible reports from both Stabroek and Border markets, the two big markets, where there are flooding problems, especially during this rainy season. We sometimes still have to get to NDIA to help us with drainage in the Stabroek and Border markets, as well as the Ministry of Public Works sometime late last year had to go and fix a pipe to avoid water just being wasted in Stabroek Market. So I think that your question is quite important, but I think what is even more important is that we're happy that you have recognized that the City Hall and the mayor and town councillors mostly are leaving the city just so that they think that the government is going to get a bad name. We will not be cowed by any sabotage led by the mayor and town councillors. We will move forward to develop Georgetown, and that's a commitment that we're making to the citizens of Georgetown.
Just a follow-up to Frederick's question and then two substantive questions. During the meeting that just concluded, did you put to the mayor the suspicion that you have, and did he try to offer at least any other alternative reason as to why the sudden flooding, even just a few months after the coalition stepped out of office? Do you want the auditor now, or are you going to answer that?
Yes, you can read that.
Okay. The Minister Darnell, you spoke about government having to do the heavy lifting now regarding keeping the city safe from flood events, etc. Wouldn't this result in somewhat a duplication of funds, because City Hall has a certain obligation to do certain things, but then government would now have to take money to do what City Hall is supposed to be doing? And the third question, how do you intend to work around the manning of pumps and sluices? If these workers are still on the City Hall and there's suspicion that there is a sabotage, how would you work around that, even if everything else is in place?
All right, for the first question, I raised the issue and Minister Annan would have said it also. I said that it seems that the City Council is playing politics with the citizens of Georgetown and the mayor just laughed it off. Never respond. They didn't respond to it, he laughed it off. So, and I made that, I also made that statement yesterday when I was interviewed by the press, when we went and visited a number of pumps and sluices around the city. And he didn't say, respond negative, no, that is not so. He just laughed it off and never respond to the question or respond to the statement that I made. Both myself and Minister Annan. And also the workers, let me be very frank with you all. As it stands now, we from the NDIA are managing 3 pumps in the city. Out of the 12 pumps that they have, we are managing 3. The 3 pumps that we put down, the 3 new pumps that we put down last year, and we contracted that service out to a contractor. And we are not having the problem because one person is answerable to us. He has to ensure that he get those pumps operable. He has to ensure that those pumps come work on time, and that's what we have been doing over the last few months that we have installed those pumps. So what Minister Dharamlal would have said, that if we have to, if the time comes we have to take over the system in the city, then we have a system how we can manage it. We have been managing, we have hundreds of pumps across this country. As a matter of fact, we have close to about 300 pumps, the NDIA. These pumps, similar pumps that are placed in the city. And we have people working at all these pumps. These pumps are operated on time. They are serviced on time, and they are functional. And if we could do that, different parts of the country, places like Region 1, places in Region 10, those areas that we have power, we are managing it. And the city is not a problem for us. But the point we are making, that the City Council is abdicating their responsibility. And as the question that was asked just now, it seems to me that they are playing politics with the people, because you could also see on the main opposition social media page, they are saying that when they were in government, they are saying it, that the city never flooded like that. But there is some issue, because if a government can increase the capacity in the city and we're still getting worse flood now, then there is some problem with the City Council in managing the system that we have put in place.
Yeah, on the issue of the duplication, where the government is doing the heavy lifting or plan to do the heavy lifting, and City Hall having to budget for it. The unfortunate thing about City Hall is that, and the citizens need to know this, they have not really budgeted for the upliftment of the drainage infrastructure in the city. So despite all of what they are saying, they have not budgeted for the cleaning of the canals, they have not budgeted for the cleaning of the alleyways. What they have budgeted for is to spend about $21 to $22 million per month on collecting and disposing garbage, and they spend about $120 million per month on paying their staff. That is what the City Hall is spending our taxes on, and not on cleaning the city or enhancing the infrastructure. So naturally the government will have to do the heavy lifting. Like I said, the payroll now is the current payroll is about 750, and then when you take the pensioners in, it is over 1,000 persons that City Hall has to pay every month. So I see City Hall is a slush fund to use by the principals of the town council, meaning the AP and UFC, to pay their supporters, and not doing anything in the city.
Minister Dharamlal, if I could follow up with something. You have accepted that the City Hall has much shortcomings. History has shown that the City Hall, the Mayor and City Council of Georgetown, is one of the most corrupt, underperforming entities in Guyana, as a matter of fact. But still yet, your administration sent double signals by giving people who have no capability of managing money, no accountability for money. you still give them $30 million. Can you explain that?
Yes, we have an obligation to make sure that debtor services are provided. And we have given the subvention under strict conditions. That the subvention will be determined via public procurement, that the subvention will go towards the administrative building, that any support that we give to them will have to be collaborative and not previously where City Hall determines how the money is being spent. So that has been implemented as of this year. We also have the situation right now, a special audit is being conducted of the City of Georgetown, and I want to commit to members of the public, including the citizens, that based on the findings of that audit, those who are culpable for wrongdoings in the city, they will be held accountable and they will have to face prosecution.
Any other? Thank you very much.